Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Devo with Bo O. July 5th. I always love the sound of July. I don't know about you, but July just sounds cool when you say it. Um, maybe it's just me and maybe it's because I just have a birthday in that month, but man, I always go, man, July, what a cool sounding month, right? July. It sounds so sunny, so cool, kind of free, kind of skateboardy, kind of surfy. That's what I think of in my mind anyway. But welcome to the Morning Devo with Bo this 5th of July, 2022. You could always check out the YouTube archives at Bo Willette right there on your screen. Boom, right there. And so glad. Hope you guys had a great Independence Day. And I wasn't in on the Devo, so I didn't get a chance to see you all, but I take it that you had a good time and saw some fireworks, and that was cool. And you guys enjoyed it. So yeah, I am in the office today, so different background. Always a different background when I'm in the office. It looks a little different there, but same program, so to speak. So Paula, Tina, very good having you in the comment corner. Looking forward to other people joining us as well as we get back on a roll on our Devos. Chapter 10 of Joshua. Very cool passage, very neat. Man, I've heard some pastors really go to town on this chapter. There is some interesting stuff uh, people can get into with this chapter. I'm not going to get into all the details of this chapter and all the Bible study that we could do, but I'm going to pull out just things that hit me because that's what the Devo is about. It's a devotion, and it's my Devo really with you. And so I do this normally. I do this regularly in my life, sometimes more than once a day. Just do a quick Devo and go through things in the Bible and pull out some stuff. So that's what we want to do this morning, really to focus our minds, right? Get our minds focused on God. So now Adonai Zedek. Woo, what a cool name. King of Jerusalem. Oh, neat. We kind of get Jerusalem in the picture, right? Famous Jerusalem in the promised land. Here it is. And so Adonai Zedek means Lord of righteousness. If you want to do a little Bible study, you can go back to the book of Genesis and you can look at a guy in Genesis 14 named Melchizedek, who is also king and a priest of this area, and kind of compare names, right? Adonai Zedek, Melchizedek. You kind of see the similarities. Adonai, Zedek, Melchizedek. Different people, of course, but just interesting. Same place, same area. So Adonai Zedek means Lord of righteousness, and so just something to note, right? Very interesting. Lord of what? We will kind of get maybe an idea as we go on. So Adonai Zedek, this guy, Lord of righteousness, or it could be my divine as well, the divine one, I guess, something like that. The Lord is righteous. Heard about Joshua and how he had taken Ai and totally destroyed it, doing to Ai and its king as he had done to Jericho and its king, and that the people of Gibeon had made a treaty of peace with Israel and were living near them. So we get a little summary, it's neat, in chapter 10 of the book of Joshua. So it's kind of nice where you get these little summaries. Oh, what's happened so far is Joshua and the army of Israel has gone into the promised land. They crossed the Jordan and they faced Jericho and they faced Ai, and they literally destroyed those areas. And so not only that, but you have this tribe that's from Canaan, the Gibeonites, and they have literally made a treaty with Israel. So they're now servants of Israel. And Adonai Zedek, the king of Jerusalem, hears that. Now, it's got to be intimidating when you have a guy like Adonai Zedek, that name, Lord of Righteousness, my divine, that kind of name coming now against you. And that's what we're going to see in this chapter. Someone who's got such a reputation, such a name. And it seems like, woo, that's a big deal. Jerusalem, too. That seems like a serious place. And, have you ever been intimidated in your life? Have you ever gotten intimidated? Yeah, we all have, right? There's times where we do get intimidated. It might be someone's name, someone's reputation, and it can be a little overwhelming, when we are, in a sense, in a tussle with someone who's got such a good reputation, or such a famous, let me say, reputation. And but Adonai Zedek obviously seemed like a guy who was pretty popular because we're going to see him gathering other kings. So that's what we see. It says he and his people were very much alarmed at this because Gibeon was an important city, like one of the royal cities. It was larger than Ai, and all its men were good fighters. So Adonai Zedek, king of Jerusalem, appealed to Hoham, king of Hebron, Piram, king of Jarmuth, Japhia, king of Lachish, and Debir, king of Eglon, come up and help me attack Gibeon. he said, because it has made peace with Joshua and the Israelites. So he says, hey, the Gibeonites are traitors. We're going to go against them. And he's obviously a popular king because he's able to gather these other tribal leaders, these other city leaders, and gather their military and now come up against the Gibeonites. So, wow, this is going to be now a kind of a showdown, right? The Gibeonites, who were on the side of Adonai Zedek probably at one point, but heard about Yahweh and went, man, I want to follow those Israelites. Those guys, man, they got their God is like massive, man. He like conquered Pharaoh and Red Sea stuff and Jordan and all this stuff like that. Came against Jericho, and so we want to follow him. And so you could see how the Gibeonites must have felt like, uh-oh, maybe we did the wrong thing by turning to Israel and making that covenant with Israel. I just want to remind you that, we're never doing bad when we come into covenant with God. We never, it might seem like the world's coming against us, right? Because in a sense, like the Gibeonites, we've come to God. Like the Gibeonites who were once enemies, right? That's what the Bible says in the New Testament. You were once enemies. Whoa, what a trip. I was once alien from the covenant of God, right? I didn't know about the covenant of God. I was an enemy. I was a Gibeonite. And now I have turned to God, right? And just like this story of the Gibeonites, they've made an agreement, a covenant with Israel to join them. So we have come and joined the Israelite Messiah. We've come and joined Jesus. And because of our uniting with Jesus, joining with him, and in a sense, his army, right? This spiritual army, this power structure, this spiritual power structure. Now we have an army that we were once a part of, right? We were once a part of what we call the world and the world system, but now that thing might come against us, right? And come and attack you. So you can see how the Gibeonite story and narrative is really a little story of our own lives, right? Yeah, when you gave your life to Jesus, you became united with Christ. And so now the posse that you once hung out with is kind of bummed. Like, what? What are you doing going over to Christ, to Jesus? You're supposed to be hanging with us. You're supposed to be rolling with us. You're supposed to be in the clubs. You're supposed to be doing this. You're supposed to be doing that. That kind of thing goes on, right? And then it can get worse to where now you have Adonai Zedek gathering people and saying, hey, we're going to go after the Gibeonites. Man, they have made a covenant with Israel. We're going after them. So you guys see the cool parallel there with our own life and our own relationship with God, and how sometimes the enemies that we feel that are against us, it has to do a lot of times with our union with Christ. We love Jesus. We're wanting to serve Christ. And so we're wanting to like obey Christ the best we can with the grace that he gives us. And obviously we don't do it perfectly. And obviously there's a lot of bails and flails and fragileness and everything. But we're learning to repent. We're learning to forgive. But we're wanting to walk with Christ. And and that means we do have to say, hey, that's wrong and that's right. And this isn't good. And this is good. And this is evil and this is righteous. And so we're making those decisions, but not because of it's us. It's not because it's our truth. No, it's Jesus's truth. And so we have united with him. So it says, when the five kings of the Amorites, the kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, and it lists the kings. It says, join the forces. They moved up with all their troops and took positions against Gibeon and attacked it. Whoa. So there's a lot of people sometimes that will take positions against you because of your walk with Christ. Or they might just simply attack you because of your walk with Christ, right? And they might do that by picking apart your life, by seeing areas of sin, and they go, oh man, you hypocrite. Well, no, a Christian that sins doesn't mean that they're a hypocrite. No, everybody sins. The Bible says there's no one righteous, no, not one. You should never be shocked at a Christian who is found to be a sinner. That is weird, right? No. If someone says, "Oh, this Christian, they did this sin." Well, yeah, okay. Yeah. Read the Bible, right? We're reading the Bible, and a lot of people that, are into Yahweh sin quite a bit, right? So we shouldn't be shocked by that. But what we want to be doing is what? It's like saying, "Yeah, what we did is wrong. Yeah, that's a sin. Yeah, that's why we're confessing our sin daily, you know? So if someone points out your sin and says, "Yeah, well you sin," you say you're a godly person, blah 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 or whatever they say. If they attack on the attack, right? Man, I don't want to argue with the idea that I'm a sinner. No way, man. So if someone comes at you and attacks you that way, just say, "You're right, man. I am a sinner." That's why I want to follow Jesus's prayer. Confess my sins to the Lord. Ask God to forgive me my sins as I forgive those who sin against me. That's what I want to be doing. So, hey, thanks for pointing it out. Maybe that's how we kind of, what is it? Uh, kind of get rid of that attack. Sometimes people are attacking and we want to attack back, you know, but instead, maybe we can distinguish those fiery darts of the wicked one simply through, kindness and truth, maybe just speaking truth to them. So maybe truth can be a good way of us attacking. And that's really a New Testament biblical way of attacking, right? Is by sharing the truth, right? Helping people share the truth. So when you're getting maybe, you know, attacked, maybe the best thing to do, today is to like just share truth, is just share what is true, and that kind of thing. You don't feel like you have to get on the defensive or anything, um, that kind of stuff. But anyway, it says the Gibeonites then sent word to Joshua in the camp at Gilgal. And it says, "Do not abandon your servants. Come up with us quickly and save us. Help us because all the Amorite kings from the hill country have joined forces against us." So the Gibeonites do something. They come to Israel and they beg Israel for help. Hey, remember the covenant that we entered with you? Hey, Jesus. Hey, Joshua. Remember Joshua's Jesus, right? The Gibeonites sent word to Jesus in the camp at Gilgal. Hey, don't abandon your servant, right? Hey, remember me? Do you remember when I came to you? I said, "Hey, Jesus, I need you in my life." Do you remember that moment? Yeah. Okay, now come to my rescue, right? Psalm 91, right? He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall dwell in the house of the Almighty, right? I will say of the Lord, He is my rock, my refuge, right? The one we could trust, right? He will help us. He will take care of us. He will be that refuge, that fortress for us. That kind of idea. But don't you like that? The Gibeonites do come to Jesus. They come to Joshua, right? Hebrew Jesus, or Hebrew Joshua, right? Greek, then moved into Latin Jesus, right? The languages. It says, "Do not abandon your servants." Jesus, don't abandon your servants, man. Come to us, right? Help us quickly. Save us. Isn't that cool? Save us, Jesus. Oh, man. What a beautiful cry for salvation that the Gibeonites give out. God, that is so cool. I just find that awesome that you see that so clear in there, right? Come up to us quickly, save us, help us, because all these people are come against us. Hey, when everything's coming against us, what can we do? We can come to Jesus. We can cry out to Jesus. Jesus, you be everything to me. You save me. You help me in my life. You do that great work in me, right? Get my eyes off of all the Amorite kings that are coming against. So Tina says, "Yes, please save us, Jesus." Yeah, I love that. And so it says, so Joshua, Jesus, marches up from Gilgal with the entire army, including all the best fighting men. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid of them. I have given them into your hand. Not one of them will be able to withstand you." Wow, Jesus comes up against the armies of the world. Sounds very much like what book? Revelation. That's right. Very similar to Revelation, right? Jesus gathers the multitudes and he comes with his crew right to the earth. So very similar, very interesting. There's some amazing Bible studies paralleling Joshua, the book of Joshua, and Revelation out there. If you want to get some really cool, interesting stuff, always go to the interesting and the one who we always thank, Pastor Chuck Missler from back in the day. And he is with the Lord now. But boy, some of his studies on Joshua are just absolutely outstanding. So I always thank Chuck Missler for his work. A little interesting, little kind of out there, Twilight Zoney, but certainly fun to listen to. And it says, God, says, hey, don't be afraid, you go, right? So the Father is with Joshua, and after all the night march from Gilgal, Joshua took them by surprise. Isn't that amazing? They had extra strength. When you know God's on your side, what do you have? Extra strength to what? March all night, to be able to go that extra mile, march all night, be ready for the offense, right? And you get energized when you know God's with you. And I certainly do, and I'm sure you do too. That if when no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and that God is on your side, He will never leave you nor forsake you. That you are a part of His kingdom, that you are beloved by Christ, that God so loved the world, God loved you, that He called you, that He awoken you from your slumber, your sleep. He called you out of the enemy's camp into the family of God, right? When you think of all that, you go, man, God, that really helps me to move on, right? And and be there in another day to be ready for whatever that day holds. So the Lord threw them into confusion. So the Lord throws them into confusion before Israel, who defeated them in great victory at Gibeon. So God does this thing of confusing them, throws them into this blindness, this confusion. And this is what so much of what God does is God has confounded the wise, right? Confused the wise. Where do we see this? First Corinthians chapter what? 1? Is it? Chapter 1 of First Corinthians? Where this is what God does. He's made foolish the wisdom of the world. What does God do with the enemies of Israel, Jerusalem, and these kings? He confounds them. He confuses them, right? Even in their wisdom, they have become foolish, right? And it says that they were defeated. A great victory occurred. Israel pursued them along the road, going up from Beth Horon, so Joshua just keeps pursuing and cut them down all the way to, and it names these places where they ended up going. Constant pursuit, constant going. Um, Tina says the one person you can completely trust and rely on, that's true, is Jesus. And notice that kind of power Jesus gives you to be able to pursue the enemies, right? To be able to hold fast to the truth, to be able to stand, to take our stand, right? And pursue, right? The idea of pursuing your enemies, being on the offense, that kind of idea. Instead of being on the defense so much, get on the offense, right? Think of, hey, what can I do better? What can I do more? How can I overcome this area of my life? What do I need to do? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? Do I need to cut off that? Do I need to do that? You kind of think through that. Get on the offense. Pursue them. Isn't that cool? As they fled before Israel on the road down from this one place, Beth Horon, it says the Lord hurled large hailstones down on them. Very biblical, all right? Sounds very biblical, sounds very Revelation-like, I should have said. Revelation-like, hailstones coming down. And more of them died as the hailstones, uh, um, and they were also killed by the sword of the Israelis. It says, on the day the Lord gave the Amorites over to Israel, Joshua said to the Lord in the presence of Israel, O sun, stand still over Gibeon, O moon, over the valley of Ajalon. So the sun stood still and the moon stopped till the nation avenged itself on its enemies, as is written in the book of Jasher. Whoa! I mean, you get the idea that there was books of Jasher going on. There was all this other stuff going on. It's interesting. Again, you listen to a guy like Chuck Missler, he goes over calendar changes that happened in the world around this time, 360 days a year to 365. Why? There's something that stood still. Who knows? I mean, it just gets really gnarly. Just how does this all work? all I got to say is it seemed like a lot's going on. And it always seems like the ancient people knew so much more than we ever give them credit for. Now, I'll end with this. It's just a little story. My friend from my neighborhood just got back from Egypt. And, when we talk about ancient worlds not knowing anything and we kind of feel like they're dumb, I really got an idea of just how dumb they were, right, in the old world, right? He comes back from Egypt and he shows a picture of himself along an Egyptian pyramid. And the stones of these Egyptian pyramids he was talking about were like 6, 7 feet high and 12 foot wide, and they're stacked on each other. But can you imagine 6, 7 foot wide stone, 12 foot wide long, just solid rock being stood up on one another making these pyramids, and it just blew his mind. And he's not one of these guys who, my neighbor's not a guy who has thought much about like the ancient world and if they were smart or if they weren't smart, but we all were educated that people were kind of dumb back in the olden days, right? That kind of always has stayed with us through education. But my friend was like, "Man, these people, can you believe how they knew how to quarry this kind of rock and actually stack it on one another? Just absolutely amazing." There's so much in the ancient world that we read about in the Bible. Not just the Bible, but there's other books too. There was a book of Jasher, it says. And all this stuff when we read about the ancient world, we kind of go, "Wow, there was a lot going on. So much that I just don't know everything that was going on." But what I do know is that the structures they built have withstood the test of time. And maybe I'm out of touch. Maybe my world is the world that we it's more synthetic. And maybe the world back then, man, that was that was kind of the real thing, you know, where here it's all technology and software and all this stuff that's kind of ethereal in a lot of ways, right? How much does software weigh? Doesn't, right? you know, Stuff like that. It's really interesting. But back then, man, they quarried giant rocks. How does that happen? So amazing things. But I guess the big point of this is that in the Devo is that today, because of my union with Christ, I know God's on my side. I know God's on my side. And because I've entered in that covenant, when the enemy comes attack, those that I once were a part of, when they come and attack, I can hold fast to the truth. And victory will be won as I hold fast to Israel, as I hold fast to the Messiah of Israel, Jesus. And Jesus will lead me and lead you into victory. And we will see his mighty hand do great things right for us as well as we hold and cling to him. So cool stuff for sure, right? Pat, absolutely. Good seeing her in the comment corner as well. Tell Jerry hi. You guys have a great day, okay? Hope you got mine focused, and let's be like Gibeon. Let's link up with Jesus and his peeps, okay? Bye bye.